Welcome to the Babies in Business Podcast. Join your hosts, Rachel and Avram Gonzales, real-life parents and business partners. Each week on Babies in Business, Rachel and Avram create a space for entrepreneurial parents to find their own way. They'll dive into insights on topics like leadership, efficiency, self-awareness, budgeting, and human psychology as they nurture their family and build their business. Here's your hosts, Avram and Rachel.
We're back on the Babies in Business podcast with a new and exciting adventure from the Gonzales household. What have we been up to the last week or two?
Oh my gosh. Potty learning, potty training.
Yes, that's the inspiration for today's podcast because we've witnessed the journey of our oldest, Lincoln, in potty learning and the ups and downs that go along with learning something new. And as we grow and excel in the personal and professional world, there are many things between us and our goals that require us to learn something. And this podcast is a celebration of that process, even though it might be grueling, it might be difficult, overwhelming. In fact, you may never even start something because it might seem so big and such a task to learn something new.
Absolutely. I think sometimes the thought of learning something new can just be a daunting thought. You just, like you said, you don't even start. You can just stop right there. You know that you need to learn something. Maybe you need to upskill, up-level your skills, whatever that might be. We resist it as adults. And it's been really interesting watching Lincoln over the past couple of weeks, seeing his personality just really shine, all sorts of different things. So we're just going to take you on this journey of how we watched our son learn something new and these little steps that he went through, and they're really, really pronounced with him. And with us, it's, there's so many more things that we can do with ease, and we don't even think about how we got there. But our 2-year-old is learning so many new things. Pretty much everything that he's learning right now is new. Like his level of awe at the world is still really, really high because there are so many new things. And I love seeing that in him.
Yeah. So if you struggle to learn new things or you get stuck for a little while, before getting started, this episode's for you. If you're on the journey of learning something new and you've hit some roadblocks, this episode is for you to help you get the motivation to continue through and keep going. And I think you'll learn and gather some other things as we go along. What's so funny about this, though, is we started mapping out like his little stages of growth, and we're like, wow, we don't really change that much as adults.
Nope.
So leading into the process of potty training, we've learned about it recently as potty learning, but I think it's a discussion for a different day in the terminology. But before we started doing it, we were talking with Lincoln about it.
Everything is poop and pee around our house right now.
Mm-hmm. And we were getting him ready for the process and talking about what was going to change and introducing him to the potty for the first time. And what was his sentiment?
Oh, he hated it at the beginning.
Well, but before we actually started the training, we talked about it.
Sure, yeah. I mean, we did a lot of different things, yes. We talked about it. He seemed excited. He seemed okay with it because I think it hadn't quite set in what it really was. Yes. So he was kind of excited.
And who isn't excited about the prospect of what will occur after you learn something? Like, wow, I'm going to be able to do what? That will keep you excited until reality hits, right? So I remember even the day before we started and we've been telling him about it, he looks at me, we're on the couch, and he goes, "Daddy, we potty trained today?" Like a question mark, but also command. I said, well, actually not till tomorrow. So he was ready to roll.
Yes. Then the next morning, it was my job. My day. I had actually reserved the days over Labor Day weekend that I would not be going to the gym because I felt like maybe you didn't want to deal with 2 babies at once and a potty training journey with Lincoln.
She was not wrong.
So the morning of, Lincoln was furious. He did not want his diaper taken off. He kept asking pretty much the whole day, "I want a diaper back on," basically.
I'm in the other room and I hear Rachel remove the diaper in his room, and then they come out, right? And then he is just falling apart. He is running back to his room. He's trying to go find the diaper. He wants it back on.
Yes.
We realized later that he actually seemed like he might have been a little bit embarrassed about going bare butt out of the gate. It seemed because he went back and running back for his clothes. He's never done something like that.
No, he's like when we get ready for bath time and he's totally naked, oh gosh, he'll do a couple laps around the house because he's pretty jazzed about it. I think he really kind of, it set in at that moment also for him that this wasn't actually a temporary thing. This was kind of a change for the future. And I think he felt really stressed and maybe anxious, and he did not sleep well that night either.
That's a good point. Right. He, for the first time ever, he woke up early in the evening screaming in a way we've never heard him wake up and do something.
It was really concerning to me. So I actually, our sleep trainer probably would be horrified at what I did, but I picked him up. I took him to my room because I needed sleep and I needed to be near August. So I said, Lincoln, would you like to sleep with me? Because he was just so devastated. I could feel it in his body. He was stressed. And so I took him into my room or into our room. You're not sleeping there right now. You're on the daybed. So Lincoln slept with me, and it really didn't make a huge difference the next day. But all this to say, it was such a big deal for him. Day one was a huge, huge thing for him. He was anxious the night before, and then he was really stressed when the diaper came off. And when it was, we're going to do this.
This is the point of no return, right? If you've gone over the cliff, you're thinking, but maybe actually the point of no return is a little bit later. So day number one was, there was some learning. He had some success right out of the gate, but a lot of what you would call accidents or mistakes and just trying to get some wins under our belt. So day one was hard.
Yeah.
Day two was a string of victories.
Yeah.
He was not nearly as upset the next day, still upset
Right.
with the diaper coming off in the morning.
Right. We use pull-ups at night.
But he had so much success in the day. And I felt like he was just like riding really high.
Right.
And I think that's also the process with learning anything. You start it, it's hard. You get some wins and things start to get easier. You have some hope, I think.
Yeah.
So he had lots of
Absolutely.
excitement.
Well, and I think also when we learn, sometimes we're cramming for a test or we're studying or whatever that looks like. Maybe we're studying and we're going to be anxious the night before a test comes up, but we've done everything that we can. We're getting all this stuff in, and then we sleep. And sleep has this really amazing effect on us when we're learning that it kind of sets in. And so each day that I've been with Lincoln this past couple of weeks, I have seen him improve and have better self-esteem almost. Like he feels really proud of himself, and it's really, really cool to see that change. So it's so similar to how we learn and how we have anxiety and stuff like that. So,
well, good point about sleep. We did an episode recently. We'll plug this in the show notes, all about sleep. We talked about why it's a priority for our household, and there's some more information about that. And this falls right into it. The learning process when you sleep.
Yeah,
And he's got a nap every day and a sleep, so he's learning very fast. Day number 3.
Then there were some regressions, some serious regressions, and honestly, I feel like at some point during this day, you and I looked at each other and were like, really? Can we do this? There's no going back. How can you do that with a toddler? You can't. You can't say, today no diapers and tomorrow yes diapers. Poop in the potty today, but tomorrow it's in the diaper. That would be really confusing to them. So it's a real commitment for us. And we had that question, what have we gotten ourselves into? Because it was a rough day.
I think he had that question also.
I think he did too. Yeah, but we just tried to make it fun. And sometimes when you're having the hard time with learning or you just feel really down, maybe you feel like it's not connecting, getting out and doing something different. We found when we took Lincoln to the backyard, he really had a better time because we did kind of confine him in the house. We wanted to keep all the accidents in one place at the house instead of having him run around. So he loved having the ability to go outside and play. So, if you're learning, get out and have a different kind of environment.
Change your environment. Yeah. Next day, see, it's like a roller coaster, up and down and up and down. The next day was just building the muscle. So I think at that point we had gotten some poop in the potty. He'd had his first few pees on his own without prompting.
Right.
So it was really building the muscle.
Absolutely. And his confidence was just growing. He was just beaming when he would go potty. Oh gosh, he was so excited. We called Grammy. We've been calling Grammy a lot this week, these past couple of weeks, because he's so proud of himself. And then, the next day after that, yet again, setbacks and fatigue. Oh my. He wanted to be more independent about going potty, but he really did still need some help. He wasn't quite there in recognizing how he's feeling and getting to the potty on time. So this is one example of, gosh, you're in it, you're learning something, and it is kind of a long road. And with a little toddler, you see it very clearly. It's night and day.
Yeah, and you expend a lot of energy. Your brain eats a lot of energy when it's processing and going through new things and making all these new decisions. And so one of the curious things that we saw with him is how much longer his midday naps have been the last few weeks. So the first few days, it was like he was up within 45 minutes. They were super short. I think a lot of anxiety.
I think he was anxious.
Okay, and then as time has gone on, I mean, the other day he slept for like 2 hours and 15 minutes, which is almost an hour longer than he normally goes. So he has been exhausted by learning new stuff.
Yes. And just gosh, it's just so sweet to watch him. But we have to keep in mind too, when we are learning that we have that same thing. It can be exhausting, even though we have all these pathways built in our brain. We've got all these things going on, and maybe it's just intimidating and it's not as hard, but it's just intimidating. We still have some of these things. So if we're feeling a little bit tired or even maybe depressed about the success that we think we are or are not having on that thing that we're trying to learn, just keep in mind that it's a process.
Yeah, and even if it's something that's similar to something you've done before, still the newness of things can really wear you out.
Yeah, exactly. So just keeping that in mind.
It's like beyond those first days, we started to see that he just kind of has settled in, right? He's gotten more comfortable with it. The independence is growing. The no daddy, no mommy is coming back a little bit more. But we've also just seen him change as a little boy and become a different person now equipped with some different skills.
Yeah, it's really cool. He's got such great confidence, and we've even gone out of the house and, he'll go potty before we go, and then he'll come back and we'll go potty again. Just building up that muscle, and it's really cool to see such a little human being just becoming more confident, and I think that he's just way more confident than he was at the beginning. So, gosh, when we learn a new skill, what does it do for our confidence?
It changes everything. We truly become another person. There were some cool little notes that I wrote down as we were talking about this episode before recording. I would love to share them, things that I thought were key takeaways for me in this last week. And these are some of yours as well. We talked about them so much. But I think one of the things I noticed was that it's a really long road from just starting out to mastery. So when I looked at where we are with poop and potty versus where he is, it's a very, very big gap.
Oh yeah, it's vastly different.
And so I think sometimes we look at starting a new skill and we see people at mastery, or we see people that are just doing it, and we think, man, we are so far from that, and it can be intimidating and sometimes stop us. But what we also noticed was it doesn't take that long to become way more proficient than you were.
Oh yeah, going from only going to potty in a diaper to he knows that the potty exists and he puts pee in it. That's huge.
Yes. And it only took a couple days, and it only took, 15, 20 tries, and he's just totally different, right? And he's not a master yet, but he has come so far so quickly. And so it doesn't take that long to become more proficient than a lot of other people with a new skill.
Absolutely. And, on that same line, I think that it is important to talk about, the reason why we call it potty learning is we went through this course that talked about it. I'm not going to talk more about that, but keeping in mind that when you're learning a new skill, the reason why you call it learning is because you're allowed to fail. You're allowed to not be really, really great at it, but just keep trying. With repetition, you get better. So we've seen that with Lincoln, more repetition, and he just got better and better and better. So give yourself grace. When you're learning, give yourself grace. You're going to have setbacks, just like we saw here, and that happens. We also saw that you can get good really, really quickly, like you said, but you're not quite the master, but you still have better skills than you did before. So, wow. It takes more brain power and time in the beginning than anything else. So it really takes a lot of effort, conscious effort, to do a new task, learn a new skill, whatever that is. You don't yet have these habits or these things that you do, a mode of operation, really, in doing this new skill. So it takes a lot of effort, and it can exhaust you. I felt exhausted by learning new tasks. And also it can take you way longer than the master. I look at you do some things like in our business, you do something so quickly. And then I'm the one learning this task, whatever it might be, and it takes me forever. So here I am harping on myself because it's taking me a long time. So just remembering that, give ourselves the grace that it's going to take you longer if you're new to it.
And it's always going to feel like a big deal before you start, right? So just remember that your mind is playing tricks on you. And if you have to tell yourself, I'm being played a trick on before you get started, maybe you need to do that. But just know that it's going to make it bigger than it is in reality. And so if you think about, okay, maybe it's not as bad as I think it is, that'll probably help you get started.
Yeah, for sure.
So we appreciate you hanging out with us and hearing our journey of potty learning, and hopefully it's inspired you to be more confident and excited about your next learning opportunity. We'd love to hear from you on social media. You can also email us, hello@babiesandbiz.com. Got a question for you to engage with us. What's a new skill you learned recently that you do all the time, but you remember really struggling with? Love to hear what that is, and if you want to share a little bit more about that journey, we'd love to hear that too. You can catch us on social media at babiesandbizpod, and you can go to our website, babiesandbiz.com, to find out more episodes and catch the show notes. Anything else you'd like to add before we go?
It's been fun, and our journey is continuing. Just remember that learning is a process.
We're off into the future. So that's it from us. We appreciate you for listening.
Bye for now.
Thanks for tuning in to this week's episode of the Babies in Business podcast. Who do you know that would benefit from hearing this episode? Share it with them and post about it on social media. You can find the show notes for this episode, free downloads, and connect with the rest of the community at babiesandbiz.com. We'll see you next time.